cheers could be heard in France on Tuesday as citizens in a virtual lockdown applauded the healthcare workers responding to the COVID-19 pandemic.
I love that so much. Well, Coloradans are doing the same on social media. You've been commenting, thanking everyone out there who's still working, putting themselves at risk. Healthcare workers, first responders, grocery store workers, sanitation crews, the list goes on. Send your thank yous and positive vibes using the hashtag #SendTheLove.
I love that we're focusing on the positivity. Good morning, everybody. I'm Natasha out here in the Information Center as we practice social distancing at 9 News. Gary and Corey are in the studio about 6 feet apart, a little farther than what you were used to seeing. And we sent Marty outside this morning. We still like him, I promise. It's for a good reason. A storm's on the way.
It is, and I hope to be out here tomorrow morning as well to show everybody just how dramatic it will be, because boy, it's going to be raining out here tomorrow at this time. Just transitioning to snow. For us, it'll be snowing in the foothills for sure. What a beautiful morning we have going for us here today. Sun's up, things are warming up fast. We'll be on our way to the 60s here today. The wind kicks up out of the south, so it's a southerly wind up to about 20-25 miles per hour during the day. But tomorrow, cold air comes roaring in, especially after 7 o'clock in the morning, and the wind goes crazy. We're going to have 30, 40, 50-mile-per-hour wind tomorrow, so that's going to create a really interesting day where we peak our temperatures early in the morning in the 40s when it's raining, and then we drop temperatures all day in the 30s with some moderate snow throughout the day. We're starting to see the snow pick up now in the Grand Mesa area and in and around the Maroon Bells. Winter storm watches, warnings, advisories, blizzard warning up north in Wyoming and Nebraska. Not a ton of snow here, but this is going to be a big dose of snow in the mountains and foothills of the Front Range.
This morning, we do have a couple of things for you to keep an eye out for on your morning drive. Looks like we're seeing some improvements on I-70 right at E-470. We did have a crash that was causing a few backups and delays. Looks like that is now being cleared out, which is great news for your morning drive. The rest of your drive really does look pretty good. There aren't a lot of people on the roads with so many people working from home and kids out of school, so not a lot to worry about. I did have some slowdowns when we were looking at 76, but even those have picked up. So let's give you a couple of drive times on 270 in between I-70 and I-25. We are running you about 6 or 7 minutes.
Kylie, thanks. We're following some breaking news in the last half hour. A 5.7 magnitude earthquake hit just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. The epicenter was near Magna, which is a suburb just to the west of Salt Lake. We are still working to find out if there were any injuries or if the city is seeing any heavy damage. As we get more information trickling in here, we will let you know.
And Justin, this morning, China is defending its decision to kick out more than a dozen American journalists out of the country during the COVID-19 pandemic. Journalists with the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post have all been ordered to turn in their press cards within 10 days. This applies to journalists with credentials that expire before the end of the year. The move comes as tension between the U.S. and China increase. President Trump and his top aides have criticized China and referred to the illness as the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus. The World Health Organization has advised against that kind of language. Johns Hopkins is reporting the number of global cases has surpassed 201,000 as of this morning. More than 8,000 people have died worldwide. The countries with the most confirmed deaths are China, Italy, Iran, Spain, and France.
In the U.S., there are 5,740 cases with 101 deaths. The White House is proposing a $1 trillion stimulus bill after the Senate stalled on a bill to help those without jobs or health insurance. The Senate is expected to vote on an amendment to the measure today. The White House has already warned congressional Republicans the unemployment rate could hit 20%. The stimulus package would provide loans for small businesses and billions to other hard-hit industries. It would even send spending money checks directly to taxpayers.
Want people losing their jobs or not having money to live when they were doing very well just 4 weeks ago.
For now, New York City's mayor is considering a lockdown similar to the one happening right now in San Francisco. Today marks day 2 of a shelter in place in San Francisco. It's all in an effort to stop the spread of the virus.
Wall Street opened just moments ago. This is a live look at the big board right now. The Dow Jones Industrial Average off about 1,100 points. That after opening down about 1,300. We had expected that lower opening based on overnight futures. The Dow climbed more than 1,000 points on Tuesday following President Trump's comments about seeking more than $1 trillion in economic stimulus. The Federal Reserve is also relaunching more programs that were used in the 2008 financial crisis to try and provide short-term funding for businesses. Well, the financial costs are starting to take a toll here in Colorado. The State Department of Labor says thousands of people have filed for unemployment insurance as of Tuesday. Eddie Randall's at the Capitol now, and Eddie, many of those requests came from people, not surprisingly, in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, that's right, Gary. So many industry workers across our state are impacted by these recent developments and these changes to employment. You know, the director of the department, the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, called this unprecedented and said never before has that agency seen such a high volume of impacted workers. We just recently learned that as of Tuesday, nearly 7,000 people have filed unemployment claims. Now, the spike in claims comes after Governor Jared Polis announced on Monday all bars and restaurants across the state end dine-in services and offer delivery and takeout services only for 30 days. Now, we went to some of those bars as they were sending people home, not sure when they would be able to tell their employees to come back to work. Bar owners wanted employees to know that they'll bounce back from this.
I've got my 2 kids at home, but I've got my 80, 90 kids here. And we're going to get through this. I mean, we're going to come back with a fury when this all ends.
I'm trying to make sure and, assure our staff that they know they will have a home to come back to and a job to come back to. And I see us being busier than ever when we reopen after May.
And officials with the Department of Labor and Employment, Gary, wanted to acknowledge that they knew they had some problems with the online system over the last day or two. And they say that they're asking for people's patience as they work with all of the increased amounts of applications that they're dealing with right now. For more resources on employment and jobs, you can go to coloradoui.gov.
All right, Eddie, thanks for that. 183 cases of COVID-19 now reported in Colorado. 2 people have now died. The most recent death, a man in his 70s in Weld County. The Weld County Health Department says his death is connected to one of the earlier identified positive cases. The state has tested some 1,790 people so far.
For the second day in a row, only one new case of COVID-19 is reported in Wuhan, China. One, which is the epicenter of the outbreak. You know, the virus seems to be slowing down in China, even though it's now spreading across the world. So what does this mean for the United States? Here to explain is our 9 Health expert, Dr. Payal Kohli. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about what we're learning from Wuhan. What can we take away now?
I think what we're learning is that aggressive mitigation measures work. So if you recall, let's go over the timeline. The first case was in late December of 2019. By late January 2020, they were where we are now in terms of number of cases, and that's only about a month later. And as soon as they realized that, they pursued a very aggressive lockdown of the entire Hubei province, which includes Wuhan. And it was a big move because you're locking down several million people, but it was very effective. In fact, a study just came out yesterday that said that actually reduced worldwide transmission by 80%.
Wow.
Yeah, so in addition to this prevention and lockdown, they also did aggressive social distancing, they did isolation. You have those photos of people walking the streets, spraying down the streets, so they were very good about making sure that they're really killing the virus. And then the second thing they did was to prepare for the consequences. So first was prevention, and second was preparing for the consequences, where they built hospitals in a few days, and they also made sure they had enough protective equipment for healthcare workers.
We're now seeing it move across the world, from China to Italy and beyond, United States. What can we learn from these outbreaks now popping up in different countries?
Well, I think the most important lesson, and as you said, we've now had more deaths outside of China than within China, is that when you're in this window, which is exactly the window that we're in now, where you're seeing this exponential spread and this rapid increase, we had a 500% increase in the last 3 days. That's the time to pursue those aggressive mitigation measures. So it's prevention and it's preparedness, and you got to do both of those. Testing has come up a lot, and our inability to really test as widely as we should, like South Korea did. That's another important lesson. And I almost feel like until we can either start testing or doing those aggressive mitigation measures, it's really like having a blindfold on in terms of fighting the virus.
I want to take a couple of viewer questions now. One viewer asking, I am currently breastfeeding and am wondering if I were to come in contact with the virus, should I continue to breastfeed?
So we do know that it does not transmit through the breast milk, so that's very safe. In fact, there may be antibodies that go through the breast milk. However, when you're breastfeeding, you're obviously handling your baby very closely, and since it is a respiratory virus, that does increase the risk to the baby.
And the other question you got too is, you know, the aftermath of getting it, does it stay in your body like HIV? What are the repercussions of getting the virus long term?
Yeah, so no, we don't actually think that it stays there forever. Once you get it, you developed immunity. You could get it again potentially if it mutates, but it's not in your body forever. We are learning that there are some studies saying there may be long-term effects on lung function and such after the virus.
We talked about that lung scarring functionality. So much of this virus that we still don't know because it's ever changing, and we're learning, and studies are coming out as more and more people, unfortunately get the virus. And we know that you have a lot of questions. If you have any questions about COVID-19, text them to us. Dr. Coley, a valuable resource here. She's going to be sitting here and answering your questions. Text the word coronavirus to 303-871-1491, and we will text you back a couple of links and updates on the virus, and you can also text questions to Dr. Coley using that same number. Marty?
We are continuing to track and forecast tomorrow's storm, which starts as rain. Raining through the night, raining this time tomorrow morning, changing to snow during the morning, probably about 9-10 o'clock, starts changing over to snow. By Friday morning, several inches of snow here. It's a wet spring snow. I'm thinking about getting some fertilizer.
There you go. Hey, we do have one crash I want to let you know about. This is one of our newer ones, northbound I-25, right near exit 192, which is Ridgegate Parkway. So keep that in mind, but traffic is, of course, very light this morning, so not causing any backups or delays.
That is good news. Thank you. I have more of your top stories in the morning rush today. A 50-acre wildfire still burning a little bit in Jefferson County. It's about 6 miles east of Pine. Some evacuations, though, were lifted overnight. People living on River Road and Resort Creek Road still can't go home. An evacuation center has been set up at Elk Creek Elementary School. Police in Parker are looking for this person who robbed the Bank of the West on Tuesday morning. Surveillance pictures show that he is wearing a motorcycle helmet. He left the bank on 20 Mile Road and was seen heading toward Walmart. Call Metro Crime Stoppers if you have any information. CU is canceling graduation ceremonies this coming May. The chancellor was worried about people traveling in from out of state or out of country. He says they are looking into some virtual options. The Denver Broncos traded one of my fave players, fullback Andy Janovich, is headed to Cleveland for a 2021 7th-round pick, and center Connor McGovern is going to the Jets. Major League Baseball says all 30 teams have committed $1 million to help ballpark employees. The league delayed the start of the season by at least 8 weeks on Monday, so those people that work at the stadiums are out of work for a while. A nonprofit called A Little Help is doing its part to help during the pandemic. It asks background check volunteers to get groceries, medications, make care calls, and shovel snow for people. You can find them on Facebook if you would like to volunteer.
Some shops are offering specific hours for vulnerable shoppers during the outbreak. We're covering which stores are doing that next.